everyone, and welcome to another episode of Backstage Pass. I'm one of your amazing hosts, Samantha Powell, and that's Ben Barnard. Ben, good to see you again. How was your Thanksgiving holiday?
It was, pretty much like any other day. We don't really celebrate Thanksgiving much in the UK, so it sort of passed fairly uneventfully. But I understand that it's a fairly big thing over there in the States. So I am more interested to hear about your Thanksgiving. How did it go?
Oh my gosh. Gluttony is my middle name. Literally got as much food on a plate as possible. It's actually very sad. No, but it was actually my very first Thanksgiving in my home. I'm usually, with my family, in Virginia, but this year I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina, in my home that I bought, and I'm so excited. So it went really, really well. I didn't burn down the house, so that was good.
Good. So were you hosting? Did you have a lot of people to cook for, or was it like a smaller affair? What was the situation?
This year was a smaller affair. So it was me, and I had my boyfriend over and his dog, and so my dog. So that was fun, like seeing them interact and begging for food the entire time, which
Did they get their own Thanksgiving meal? The dogs? Or
they get a little turkey. See, they shouldn't be getting anything, so I'm glad the vet and stuff, they're not listening or watching, because apparently Thanksgiving is the time that everybody kills their pets because they're giving them all the bad stuff, right? The ham that they're not supposed to have. Exactly.
Not in a sacrificial sense.
No, we're not going to get rid of the pets that way. No, our babies, they made it through, but no, it was really good. We had the turkey, the stuffing, the ham. I tried to make a lot of the our homegrown recipes, and I think it did a pretty good job at it. So all in all, it went really well. So what did you do then that week?
So not much. I mean, it's, as I say, it kind of passes fairly uneventfully here, but from the Thanksgiving celebrations I've experienced in the past, because I had a couple of friends who I made when I was at university, who were from the States, but living in the UK with their families. So I was lucky enough to be invited a couple of years in a row to a Thanksgiving celebration in the UK. And I have to say, it's quite similar in terms of amounts of food and the kind of stuff you make to our Christmas dinner that we would have. I know obviously a lot of people celebrate Christmas Day in the States as well, but because we don't really do Thanksgiving, most of our focus goes onto that Christmas Day meal. So, like you say, plates piled high with food, all sorts of sort of main dishes and side dishes. Roast potatoes are always a big thing that people sort of strive for every year to sort of get the best, to do the best one. I've actually been testing out, this is how exciting my life is. I've been doing some testing recently because
potato testing, roasted
exactly.
Potato testing.
So usually I celebrate with my family for the Christmas day, having the big meal, and we will each sort of bring something or a couple of elements. And I've been quite keen on being the potato guy for the last couple of years. Now, what that means is that you have a lot of responsibility because it's a pretty central part.
This is deep. This is really deep.
This is deep. What I have found in doing some tests last week is that if you add a little teaspoon of baking soda to the water while you're parboiling your potatoes, it breaks down the outer surface of the potato, allowing it to be sort of more crispy, yet leaving the inside fluffy. Okay, so
wait, now
that's what I did.
The potato is whole, right? You're not cutting it up beforehand.
No, you do. So you cut it into whatever kind of size. So if you have a big potato, then you cut that into 4, parboil, and then you roast it. What I'm saying is when you're parboiling this potato, add a bit of bicarb, as we call it, or baking soda, as you guys would call it in the States. Add that to the water as it boils, and you boil it for 10 minutes, just get a parboil. And then it allows the outside to get a bit more crunchy. It worked very well. So
oh my goodness.
I think that's the direction I'm going to go this year.
Okay, who knew you were a little mini Gordon Ramsay over there? So now,
well, there you go.
Now that we know this,
that's what this podcast is all about. Everyone thinks it's all about the guests, right? It's people want to People want to know about us and our
I
lives.
mean, yeah, like we eat really good food. I mean, that's really what they care about.
We spend a lot of time cooking potatoes, is what
There you go.
people have discovered.
Well, I know on today's show we have an amazing guest, so maybe we should ask her what she did over the holidays. So yeah, Mina Patel, I know is going to be joining us on this show.
Yeah, exactly. And, terrible segue because I've just said that it's not all about the guests. And now we're going to talk about one of the most amazing guests. I've known Mina, had the pleasure of knowing Mina for a long time. She's a fantastic industry figure. She works for London Borough of Redbridge, which is an area of London, East London, and she's the video conference lead. But she also does a lot of work with online safety, so keeping kids safe while they're online. She's extremely passionate about what she does. It's always a pleasure to see Mina, and I'm really pleased that we managed to get her onto the show. So I guess without further ado, we should have a look at that segment now.
Let's do it.
Hi, Mina. How are you?
Hi there, Ben. I'm well. Thank you.
Good. Good to see you. So thank you very much indeed for joining us today for this episode of Backstage Pass. First of all, before we get into a couple of questions, would you mind just telling the audience, for those who are unfamiliar, what your role is?
Yes, I work for the London Borough of Redbridge and I lead on video conferencing and online safety for the schools.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. You and I, we know each other. We've known each other for a while. It's been a pleasure to work with you in many different capacities over the years. And this year we'll be lucky enough, and so will attendees to the ISE show, to be able to participate in some of the sessions that you're involved in. Would you mind just giving us a quick overview of those ones that you're involved in this year?
Yes, so on the Tuesday of the show, I'll be in the Exchange Live arena with Avixia, and we're going to be talking about AI in AV. And I'll be on a panel with other experts, and we'll just be discussing some of the positives that AI has brought to the AV industry, as well as some of the things that we need to be more cautious about, cybersecurity, data, and how can employers help their employees become more familiar with AI. So those are some of the discussion points.
Okay. And that's quite interesting, actually, because I think it's nice to hear you say that you'll be talking about both the positives and the things to be a little bit more wary of. Because I think when AI first came, it was all negatives. It was all kind of fear, and people were very unsure and uncertain. So do you think that's kind of evolved now? Are we sort of now starting to realize how we can harness it while still being a little bit kind of cautious?
Correct. Always to be cautious. I work with young people, schools, and we're always cautious. So there are positives for the school environments, but yeah, we tread cautiously.
Absolutely.
I'm sure some of the colleagues on the panel will have other opinions as well. But there are positives to us as the council, as the London Borough of Redbridge. Lots of positives for AI for us.
Yeah, and you mentioned there just then as well as the fact that you lead the online safety and video conferencing for schools. I'm interested to know what a sort of a typical day looks like for you, and how you balance the sort of technical aspects of your role and the pedagogical aspects as well.
Well, with the technology side of things, I always learn and I always take part in webinars that vendors hold for some of their latest products. And some of them even hold face-to-face events, and I try to attend those. I'm part of the AV user group, which also exposes me to some of the latest technologies that are out there in the AV industry. So that's how I get in touch and keep at the forefront of the technologies, and it's video conferencing technologies that I'm interested in. And obviously generally technologies for online safety for schools as well. So I attend conferences a lot, online and face-to-face. And as to the pedagogy, well, that's the easy part, because my background is I am an educator, and that comes very easily to me. And I'm surrounded by head teachers who I meet with all the time, in teachers, and they constantly tell me about things that inspire them with the technology in the classrooms. So I'm really fortunate. I get to work with the technology and with teachers.
Yeah, and I've also had the pleasure of moderating a couple of panels and webinars that you've been on as a panelist, and I can sort of vouch for the fact that you have a foot in both camps. So it's quite interesting because often you will bring your your sort of like your pedagogical experience to the technology table, whilst also sort of trying to keep up with the technology, but then also you flip it around as well. So you're kind of got your foot in both camps. Is it sometimes difficult to sort of keep up with the developments in both, or do you find you have quite a nice natural balance to keep you up to date with both things? Because like I would imagine that technology probably moves and changes and evolves slightly faster than the pedagogical side of things. Would that be fair?
That's very fair to say, Ben. And yes, it's harder to keep up with the technology advancements and with regulations. And sometimes there are no regulations to protect young people and teachers from the new technologies that are being designed all the time. And yeah, so you can get left behind. But as I said, the best way to do that is to just network, stay in touch with the vendors as much as possible, take part in webinars, read as much as you can, and do your best. But yeah, technology is advancing very, very fast.
Yeah, and actually, it's a quite a good plug for what you mentioned earlier, that the AV user group that you're a member of, and we've seen each other at those events many times too. And it was actually, I think, the last event that we were at, and Sharp NEC did a presentation. They were talking there about some of the updates in sort of regulations and stuff like that, which I would say 60% of the audience didn't know about. So even us as kind of like people who get involved with the technology every day and go to these events need to stay informed, and it's always good to keep our eyes open and our ears as well, of course. So speaking of sort of being in the industry, I know you have over 15 years experience in the sort of video conferencing for education side of things. I'd love to know what sort of inspires you most about your work, and at the same time, what are the sort of the challenges that you find most pressing in the current educational landscape?
Well, what inspires me the most, I have to say, are the teachers and the pupils. So whenever we have a video conference link, or, I can remember every single one of them, and there's been thousands of them, because we get to reach out to parts of the world and to experts that we could not normally do when you've just got four walls in a classroom. And that's what the technology enables. So we learn in a different way, and we communicate and collaborate with organizations, for example, the Great Barrier Reef. I was meeting with them earlier this morning, and they offer sessions on marine biology, linked to our curriculum. And we recently, and I'll be on the Wednesday of the show, I'll be speaking at the One Ed Tech conference. And I'll be talking about the Curriculum Enrichment Partnership, which is the group that we are, the National VC Education Group, as we were. And what we're doing now is creating partnerships for education. We're working with the AV industry closely. So we're working with some of the pro AV technology companies with some of their latest hardware, putting them into classrooms, putting their technology into classrooms, and then just seeing the video conference sessions just be transformed. And the potential it has for schools for special educational needs is huge, because those pupils aren't able to go on trips to the British Motor Museum, for example, and for them to make that trip, not just because of distance, but because physically they're not able to. So for them to have that virtual trip and go onto the floor of the Motor Museum and see all those brilliant cars and have an expert explain, why those vehicles have been built that way. And, there's so much potential for video conferencing, and moments like that inspire me. And when I'm in the classroom and I'm standing on the side and I'm watching the pupils sitting around the desk and the teachers with them, we have wow moments. The teachers and I look at each other when one of the educators on the screen just shows something and shares their knowledge and passion, enthusiasm for their subject with the pupils, who just immediately can ask a question, have it answered, and they've learnt something. There's no way a classroom teacher would be able to do that. So there's a lot of wow moments for video conferencing. That's what inspires me.
Nice. And then I suppose in terms of the challenges, I mean, actually, now you've mentioned that the aspect of students with special educational needs. We were sort of speculating earlier that maybe technology evolves more frequently, more regularly than maybe the pedagogy side of things. But I suppose with students with special educational needs, new things are being discovered all the time about how these how people with special educational needs learn and how they learn best and how they can experience education with all the extra research that's going on, which is obviously fantastic. Does that itself present a challenge in terms of getting buy-in from people to say, look, this is the research, this is proven, this is what we need to do, but we need sort of technology or we need a change in thinking to actually get it done? Is that something of a challenge for you?
All the time. And I've been doing this for 15 years and the challenge is still there. So pedagogically, there's a challenge. So the teachers I work with, almost because they've got me to hold their hand and we've set the case study up and I don't know, maybe I give them the courage to do it as well. I'm going to hold their hand, I will help you. We'll do your first video conference. And once they've experienced it, they gain that confidence, but they haven't gone through teacher training, being taught to teach with video conferencing in the classroom, with an expert coming on the screen. What do they do? What do they do before the lesson, after the lesson? They don't actually understand that this is another resource, an additional resource, one of the best resources they could ever have in their classroom. So they're not ready for it pedagogically because it's not part of their teacher training. That's the first thing. Even new teachers, young teachers that are coming in, they just haven't been taught to do that. And one of the other challenges, funding, always a challenge in education for us. So we need good quality video and audio. It doesn't work with the webcams and the visualizers we were using as webcams before, over 12 months ago. We've worked that out. I thought it would work. The legacy hardware from lockdown is going to be brilliant now. It's going to work. But it doesn't work when you've got 30 pupils or even, smaller groups, 6 or 10, as you have in special educational needs classrooms. It doesn't work because every child wants to be heard. Every child wants to be seen. And with the webcams we have on our laptops right now, they're brilliant for us, one-to-one, absolutely brilliant. But when you've got more, it's just not enough. So we need funding for the hardware. There needs to be more teacher training with using video conferencing. So the same issues we had 15 years ago, I'm afraid.
Yeah, and I think that's also an important thing to always keep an eye on, is the whole idea of teacher training, right? Learning how to teach somebody and how to be a teacher. I think I sort of like in a very, very basic comparison came to that when I play guitar myself. I taught myself how to play guitar, and when I was a student, a bit skint, thought I'd maybe try and teach a few kids how to play guitar. I realized I can play guitar, but I can't teach someone to play guitar. I don't have those skills. It would really take a lot of training. And then when you see someone actually doing it, whether it's guitar or anything else, you notice, wow, there's the real psychology behind it. There's methodology behind it. There's all this kind of stuff. Add the layer of the special educational needs on top of that, the technology required. It's a real balancing act, right? And as you say, it's still, after 15 years, still a struggle. So something that really needs to pay attention to. And we thank you for your for keeping at it after 15 years, even though it is still a struggle. And thank you for participating in those sessions that you mentioned earlier at ISE. For anyone who's going to experience ISE for the first time this year, what tips, tricks, advice do you have for them?
Advice I would have, bottle of water in a little bag. Always take that with you because it's a long day. What's really brilliant is that there's local transport. There's a subway, a train right next to the conference centre, so it's really easy to get to. There's lots of huge halls with lots of exhibitors and lots of opportunities to attend different seminars and talks. So always make a plan. And give yourself plenty of time to get to your meeting. So I had a meeting at 9:30, foolishly, last year, which I shouldn't have done because by the time you walk through and try to get to the hall, which could be at the other side of the conference centre, you're running the risk of being a bit late. So try and book your meetings after 10:30 if you want to meet any of the vendors. Always plan ahead, contact them before you go. Wear flat shoes, trainers. If you're girls, you don't want to walk around with heels because you just won't make it. And yes, always have a plan in advance. And you won't do it in a day. I'm telling you that. As I said, there were 9 huge halls that you want to walk around and look in and see all the different products. And meet people. So, you will not do ISE in one day. So I would say a minimum 2 days, 3, probably get through everything.
Good stuff. Well, thank you very much indeed for that advice and for sharing your time, sparing your time with us today. It's always a pleasure to see you. If anyone would like to get more information about Mina's sessions or any other sessions that are happening at ISE, then you can go to iseurope.org and check out the schedule there. But for now, Mina, thank you again so much for joining us, and I look forward to seeing you at the show.
Thank you, Ben. Look forward to seeing you too.
So there we have it. What did I tell you, Sam? I promised you a great interview, and that's exactly what we got. Always a pleasure to hear from Mina, and fantastic to finally have her on the show. If you can believe it, that's it for another episode of the Backstage Pass podcast. Sam, I'm going to allow you to continue your recovery from your post-Thanksgiving feast, but I really look forward to seeing you on the next episode.
Absolutely. Hopefully on the next episode, I've worked really hard on the treadmill and the ellipticals, so I'm going back to pre-Thanksgiving form. I'm very excited to keep these going. I'm glad we're doing more of them this year, so people get to see so many more speakers and get to learn a little bit more about us and, roasted potatoes and travel and all that stuff.
The important stuff, yeah.
Yes. Thanks to all of you for watching another wonderful episode. This is always so much fun, and we're going to continue to give the people what they want, right, Ben?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So I'm Sam, that's Ben Barnard, and thanks again for watching Backstage Pass. We'll see you soon.
Bye.